At KSMO, time for our spotlight on the Salem Hospital, and we have with us Chrissy Decker. Happy birthday!
No, thanks, Dan. I appreciate that.
Chrissy
Somebody called you to tell you that.
Well, it doesn't matter how we find out. Chrissy is 27 again.
Yeah, for sure.
She liked it so much she went back, did it again. I think it's allowable. I think it should be allowable. Anyway, we're very glad to have you here, and thank you. We were talking a little bit earlier. Chrissy missed a couple weeks back, and it was due to an illness in the family, and that's totally understandable. As I figured something had happened. Either something happened big at the clinic and you couldn't get away. Last minute does happen.
Yes.
In your job, those things do happen.
Yes, it does.
So we're trying to always be flexible with our friends at the hospital. So anyway, thank you for coming in. Actually, you're pinch hitting today, aren't you?
I am. Yes. Rebecca Murr was supposed to be here, who actually used to be married to my brother.
Yeah.
But she's not feeling well. Doesn't have very much of a radio voice, if you will. So they asked
Kind
if
of
I could come
talking
in.
like this.
Correct. Yes. And when they asked, I said absolutely, I'd like to go because I did miss coming because actually my daughter was in the hospital at SMDH, and so unfortunately I got to spend the night there before I was supposed to be here, and just wasn't able to come in. So I'm sorry about that.
Well, that's okay. It doesn't. Again, we know that there are issues like that, family issues, sometimes work issues, and it does happen. So we're glad that you're here today. And again, filling in for Rebecca. And we wish her a speedy recovery, getting
Yes.
healthy again very quickly. But anyway, again, happy birthday to you. And you're here to talk a little bit about our clinic that we have on Saturday hours, and how's all that going? Can you give us an
Yes.
update on that, would you please?
So the data that I have been tracking, our patients that are coming in have increased exponentially over the last quarter. Providers are happy. It seems like nursing staff is happy, which is very important. The staff is really kind of thriving in a little bit of a new atmosphere, if you will. We have increased our new patient load by 112 patients just in the month of March.
Fantastic.
And over 160 patients combined in January and February. I think a portion of that is probably attributed to the Saturday clinic. We have picked up several patients from that, just that accessibility. And because we have walk-in hours, we're open 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and then Saturday 9 to 2, and we take walk-ins all of those hours. So if you're sick or your kid's sick or, you need lumps, bumps, anything figured out, let us know. Chronic conditions will make appointments for your diabetic treatments or anything that you need tracked on a regular basis. Those we would really like to have an appointment with you,
Right.
but we will definitely try to work people in as best we possibly can.
Always best to have an appointment if possible.
Yes.
No matter what. But we know sometimes, hey, you go to bed Friday, you feel great, and you get up Saturday morning and something's not right, and as the day continues on, you get feeling worse and worse and worse. Don't put it off. Just head on out to the clinic and sit down and tell them, hey, this is I've got something going on here. There's no reason not to.
Yes.
Because you'll be welcome and they'll get somebody to you. And just, don't think you're going to walk right in and they're going to be waiting for you at the door, say, come on right on into my office. I mean, it doesn't happen. We all know. We've all been to the doctors before. It doesn't quite work that way. You do have to make sure your paperwork and stuff's up to date, and also make sure you do take, if you have a Medicare card or your insurance card, take that with you. Make sure you have that along. Always a good thing. They always like to take pictures of my driver's license. I think they just want me to autograph it.
Yours, of course. Everybody wants
Exactly.
your autograph.
Yeah, but anyway, always remember you do have some paperwork to fill out. Always want to make sure you give yourself some time for that. So if you do make an appointment, though, try and stay to that appointment time because they're trying to make time for you to get in. So if you're late, you get the idea. It kind of backlogs everything. It's like a well-oiled machine, the old procession line of cars coming through, and all of a sudden somebody has a car go off balance or off whack, and you got to stop the line, and everybody else is going to wait a little bit. So, but one of the nice things that's always been at the clinic, I've always found that with the nurse practitioners and doctors that we have, is they take the time with their patients to explain
Yes.
what they find, or if the patient they need that communication with the patient also to determine or diagnose what they have. A lot of times patients kind of hold back, don't they?
Yes. Yes, they do. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard a patient say, "Oh, I forgot to say XYZ." And then the provider says, "Well, come back in. Let's talk about that issue." Because if, we want to be able to treat that patient wholly within that visit. We don't want to have you come back, continually for something else regularly. Let's just get it all taken care of at one time and get that one big visit and treat you for a month or an extended period and then monitor your care after that. But
And a lot of times what you have wrong with you actually manifests itself in other types of symptoms.
yes.
It's not always, okay, a kidney stone, I might get in the lower back, I got that problem, but then it may flare up as something else too. There may actually be an infection somewhere, and it's telling you you got a problem. And so when you go there and say, I might have a kidney stone, or I got this little problem in my back. But if you've got other problems, maybe you got sweats, maybe you've been running a fever for the last 3 or 4 days, or something else, or maybe all of a sudden you got some joint pain you never had before. Don't ignore it, because it may be another symptom of what you actually may have, and it may not be a kidney stone at all.
Absolutely. And sometimes you have symptoms that don't seem like they should be related to the problem that's actually happening in your body, but your body's response to certain things is kind of bizarre. God made us the way that we are for a reason. And I think one of the largest misconceptions is that in older people, what we kind of see here in our area, we'll have a daughter or a son bring in their older parent, and they're being, very confused and losing things. And the very first thing that we do is take a urine analysis, because any sort of urinary tract infection, that's the first symptom that you have, is a little bit of, cognitive issue, especially if you're older. And so, it's just really good to know if you have an older
Sure.
parent and they start kind of not being able to manage mentally a little bit. Let's figure out if they've got a UTI first, and then we'll go from there. That's usually first course of action. So it's very strange what the body will do for certain things.
But it is true. There are so many different things. We were just talking about, and I had to go pick up branches and stuff, and I would be thinking, oh my gosh, I have some knee issues, and you're thinking your knees are going to hurt. It wasn't knees.
No.
It's hamstrings.
Yes,
and you think,
hamstrings.
okay, I've been bending over here, and I don't exercise like that anymore. You're out there picking up things for an hour or more, and you think, my lower back is going to be killing me, and didn't have any problem with the lower back. And so what I did have a problem with, I didn't really think I would, hamstrings.
Yep.
So where do you go from there? Well, start stretching again. It's telling you that you're not doing enough sometimes in exercise-wise, that a little bit more effort on my part would have probably prevented that from happening, or it would have lessened, I won't say the severity of it, because it's not really severe. It's sore, but it could have possibly been avoided had I done a little bit of stretching prior to doing that, not thinking I should know better. But we all do that. We all do things, we just react and go do it. And the next thing you know, we're a little sore doing that. And, I probably shouldn't have done that right then.
Right.
You're right. You probably shouldn't have.
Well, and it's that time of year. Everybody's going
It
to start
is.
getting out in their yards, especially today, picking up the sticks and all of the yuck that's fallen from, and we've been kind of sedentary over the winter. So make sure and stretch before you get out in your yard and do a whole lot of lifting, and then stretch afterwards, especially if you're picking things up off the ground. The hamstring stretch is really important. And if you are a little bit older, like I am now, at 27,
Yes.
hip stretches are really important as well.
We talk about stretching, but also we want to make sure people stay well hydrated. And that's one of the things I think when we stay inside, we don't probably drink enough water, and then we go outside and we work in our garden, or we trim our trees, or start cutting the grass, and we get dehydrated very quickly, don't we?
Yes. Yes, you do get dehydrated. And again, the symptoms of that sometimes don't seem like what dehydration should yield in a human body. But, if you start feeling dizzy, or if you start feeling flushed, or you start sweating in a way that you're not accustomed to, definitely get in the shade, get some water in you. And if you're feeling, like you're about to pass out, probably need to come in and see me in the clinic, or one of the nurse practitioners. I'll give you a nurse practitioner, a doctor, and they'll help you out.
it can be dangerous to get dehydrated because if your kidneys start to shut down, it may end up being even a bigger problem. And that was kind of one of my problems when I got COVID. I got dehydrated, and and Dr. Al came in. Dr. Al doesn't cut many. Cuts you at night. Let's put it this way: he cuts right to the chase.
He definitely
I was
does.
trying to be kind and say he doesn't go around the issue. He just comes around and tells you.
He's very direct, yes.
Yeah, and he kind of came out and he said, "You're this close from dialysis. You figure it out. You want to do this or not?"
Yeah,
Because if you if you have to go on dialysis, your life is going to change totally.
definitely.
So he explained it all to me, and he said, "You may not have intended this to happen, but you're the one that has to make sure you stay drinking enough water and stay hydrated. It's not our issue, but we have found that you haven't. I mean, when your creatinine level is 4.1,
Oh, wow.
yeah, and you're in there and you got COVID and you got colitis, and all of a sudden they're started, you start listing all this, and where did I get all this?
Yeah.
Because you don't see it every day because you do it every day. You figure it's something else. So you need to stay on top of your own health, right?
Yes, definitely. And hydration is a big part of that.
Let's talk a little bit this time of year. We've had Chrissy. I can't tell you, I've never seen it so windy in my life in the month of February and March than I have this year, and it's continuing here in April. I have been watching pollen counts, and normally pollen counts at this time of year. Now, starting in late March and early April, we normally start to see our pollen counts rise.
Yes.
They've been excessively high since February, and I know a lot of people who are probably suffering
Yes.
are suffering from plants or pollens that are not even near Missouri. They're being blown in.
Yes.
And that's really hard for anybody at home who wonder why all of a sudden I can't breathe or my nose is running or I got these headaches. You can't fight it on your own because these pollens are they're just not meant to be in your system. Your system hasn't had any chance to build up a tolerance, right?
Correct. Yes, and your body response to that is that it doesn't like it, and you'll get the hay fever. The congestion, ear congestion is what happens to me. We were just talking about this yesterday with the providers because as the pollen counts go up, we do see quite a few more patients come in for allergy problems, and it's definitely going to be an issue this year. We didn't have a really harsh winter, so we know we're also going to see an uptick in critters that come in. I mean, I noticed we were out the other day, and there's
Oh, yeah.
already ticks out
Oh,
really
yeah,
bad
and
as well.
chiggers.
So what we're looking for, things like, alpha-gal or Lyme disease, those are going to uptick this year, and allergies are going to uptick this year. For sure.
And don't think that you know what the symptoms are to all allergies because, as I mentioned, these pollens are strange to coming into our area. They're blowing in. Like today, we had all this wind, even with the rain. Now, the rain usually cleans the air out really nicely. And a lot of times people say, well, why do you want it to rain? I said, I want all that pollen out of the air.
Yeah.
When it get a good rain and it takes it all out, you can look at the sky, and then that blue sky looks a lot bluer than when you have all that stuff floating around. It kind of looks whitish blue, you know what I mean? So that stuff's all out there. But this afternoon, if we get some sunshine, it should look really nice. Unfortunately, there's water everywhere, But mold counts, that's another problem you have. Also, mildew can be a problem. Then you got these pollens that are blowing around. Then you've got a number of different things. You got allergies that wasp season's coming up, poison ivy season's coming up. These are a lot of things, and a lot of people think that they can treat these on their own. And I'm going to tell you a horror story. I got poison ivy, and I got other derivative of poison ivy years ago to where my arms were busting through, and the pus, call it what you will, it's white blood cells, was just breaking through and just dripping off my arms. I had to wrap them in ace bandages just to suck it all up.
Oh, wow.
So I got a poison ivy shot. Then I had to get another poison ivy shot. And I had to treat it with rubbing alcohol. You want to talk about some pain.
Oh, I bet that didn't feel
But
good.
it has to dry it up. So the way to dry it up was doing that. And, it felt great. But you get the idea. You think you can do it on your own. You think, I've had poison ivy before. This is what I've done. It always works. This was poison oak and sumac and poison ivy, all three
Oh
at the
my.
same time.
Triple whammy.
And I didn't know it. I didn't even know I was near it. And I think what had happened is I got into poison ivy, and then in the air, the poison oak and sumac, I got near it, came onto my body, laid on my skin.
Yeah.
It was being burned.
Yeah, and you have to watch burning anything like that as well, because you can inhale it and you can actually have a response in your lungs from that. People that are really allergic to it. And different people react to different allergens in different ways. I have a son that as soon as he gets any sign of poison ivy, we've got to get a shot in him or it's going to spread and it's going to get bad. I can get it on me and I don't even know that I have it.
Yeah.
And I'm the same way with like stings or anything like that. So yeah, you definitely have to watch because everybody's different. And as you age, the more you get those allergens in your system. If you're allergic to it, the worse your reactions get.
And the harder it is to come back from it.
Yes.
It takes a little bit longer. So, one of the things we want to tell people is if you come across something like this, tick bite, something like that, if you notice a tick on you or you got an unusual rash, that could just be an allergy. If your sinuses are clogged up, and it may not be the same symptoms you normally get from an allergy. Maybe it's your throat that gets sore. Maybe you got a little swelling. Maybe your eyes are watering. Maybe they never did before. Like you hear that congestion in your ears. Some people get that. It sounds like a hollow tunnel. And it's like
Yes.
all the time. And somebody talks to you, and it sounds like you're 6 people talking to you. If you've got something that's not normal, head on down to the clinic. Go in as a walk-in patient. If you want to call and try and set up a time, that's great too. But if you just want immediate care, just go in and say, hey, I've got these symptoms and I don't know what's going on.
Yes, we have 7 providers to help with pretty much anything and everything. We have a really good presence for women's health as well. So that's something I feel like in our area kind of lacks attention. In October we have giant pushes for mammograms, but it's something that should be done every month. As a female, you should be checking because unfortunately that's one of the cancers that spreads the fastest. So if you find a lump, come in as soon as you possibly can. We'll get it looked at, taken care of. We do mammograms at the hospital. Even if you don't have insurance, it's very, very important to make sure that you as a female are taking care of your female health. And Dr. Bland is part of a specialized women's health program. We're looking at adding Nexplanons, and also, which is the insertion for birth control, and also doing IUDs. So Dr. Bland will be doing IUDs, and a couple of our nurse practitioners as well. So we're expanding services, especially women's health. It's very kind of near and dear to all of the females that are in the office. So if you're having any issues at all, please call us, get in to see us, and we'll take care of you.
Child care as well. A lot of people just think, oh, Salem Hospital, it's critical access. They don't have anybody there to take care of my kid and be able to be their family physician. And that's absolutely not true. You have a number of great physicians over there, nurse practitioners that do great with kids.
Absolutely.
They're fantastic. So child care is very important, and you really need to keep your eyes on your kids as they're growing up now. I mean, obviously, you got to have immunizations for school and different things, but this is a sports season. Kids are going to get out. They're going to start running around. They get injuries. Sometimes they get, like we talked about, hornet bites, or could be just bee stings, or could be something else, or even snake bites.
Yeah.
This is the time of year all that happens. And let your children inform you immediately if something like happens so you can get the proper attention.
Yes, and we love having kids in the clinic. I'm telling you, we adore them, and there's so many moms that work there. There's some that I think we would just keep for the day so we could have them around. We love having them there. We, give out the little trinkets and the suckers and
birthday gifts.
Thank you for the birthday.
I couldn't resist that one.
Thank you for the birthday gift.
You're welcome. Make your day now. You got something to do when you go back to work and say, look what I got.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. But this is a prime time of year. A lot of people will start taking vacations as well. And Chris, we know that can be very dangerous to some people, especially people on dialysis. Can't go very far sometimes, or if they do, they need to make sure they have an appointment set up as soon as they get back, right?
Yes. Yes, and going on vacation sometimes is hard, especially when you do have some chronic conditions. So it's always best to make sure that you have your refills of your medications called in and ready to go several days before you are leaving. And we realize we have several people in this area that are snowbirds too. They've been gone all
Sure.
winter and now they're coming back, and so changing in pharmacies, and life is all about change, and healthcare is all about change because it's what we do every day.
Yes, it is.
So yes, definitely. If you're going to go on vacation, let us know. We'll get your meds sent in early for you. Make sure you have enough for however long you're going to be gone. And if you come back and you're feeling kind of sick because you drank some water in Mexico, come and see us for that
Ugh,
too.
You feel more than sick. You'll get a good workout.
Stay with the bottled water if you're going to Mexico, please.
And don't, okay, and here's the secret. Stay with the bottled water and make sure the bottled water is cold. So many people go get the ice cubes from the Mexican water and they put it in, and it doesn't do you any good.
Right? The ice cubes have the stuff in them too.
That's exactly right. It's so interesting how things over time, everybody always say you need to be tough and do this, and you don't show signs of weakness at all, no matter what. Okay, again, those are great things to have, but as we're looking right now in child care, family care, senior care, SMDH hospital or SMH, which you call it whatever you will, but it's classically both the same thing.
Yes.
But these people, they take pride in the way they treat our community. They're very, very community oriented. They want to see everything work in our community. They want you to come to the hospital and get served by somebody in your community. And really all works out very, very well. But don't forget, too, your responsibilities when you go see a health provider. And we talked about it, just touched on it earlier, but make sure if you have any kind of symptoms, any kind of issues, please write them down. Please list them. Don't forget your medications you're taking when you go see your physician or nurse practitioner. This is what I'm taking. Sometimes the medications you're taking can make you feel odd because in the wintertime, maybe you're taking a certain medication. Now you're outside and you're mixing it up, and all of a sudden, I'm going to take a Benadryl. Okay, you take that Benadryl. You might be down and out for the next week and a half. These are things that happen every single day, don't they?
Yes, absolutely. So over-the-counter medications can have contraindications to the regular medications that you're taking as well. So you definitely want to be very careful. If you're on regular medications, always ask your pharmacist or your doctor, provider, if you can take over-the-counter medications. Benadryl completely knocks me out, but I know I have a couple kids that you could give it to them and they'd run around like nothing ever happened. Yes. So again, medications affect different people in different ways, and you always need to make sure, be positive that what you're going to take over the counter does not affect or isn't contraindicated with something that you're taking on a regular basis.
And sometimes it may just be once in a sporadic time that it actually affects you negatively. I had that happen to me. I was taking Benadryl going up to Sullivan to do a baseball game. I'd taken Benadryl thousands of times probably before that. Never thought about it. I got up on 68. I was falling asleep.
Oh.
And there's nobody else with me.
That's
and
dangerous.
I am struggling to get up to St. James. And I got to St. James. I pulled over and tried to take a nap. It didn't take long for me to take a short nap, but I woke back up. I was still tired. All because of that one Benadryl. I actually went to the game in Sullivan. I think I fell asleep during the game. I was just knocked out. How I ever got there, and then how I got back, I went and had like 3 cups of coffee after the game, and it still didn't seem to wake me up. I was really out of it. The next day I was just fine. But boy, one Benadryl just seemed to hit me the wrong way, whatever it was. So it's not all the time. You might be taking Benadryl all the next couple of weeks, 3 weeks, not take it again, and sometime in the summer take one, and all of a sudden, bang, it could hit you the wrong way. Be cautious. If something like that happens to you, contact your doctor.
And Sudafed is the other thing that you just never know how that's going to affect you. I mean, my generation, that's just what we took. You
Yep.
had some congestion. My dad took it all the time. But it can either make you pass out or it can make you hyper and, excited. So you have to really, really watch what you're taking. If it's the first time you're taking something, make sure you're watching and making sure you're not allergic to it. If you have any sort of rash, immediately come to the ER or to the clinic and we'll take care of you.
Don't just think you can doctor on your own. Even moms try to doctor on their own, don't they? A little bit, right?
Well, my kids call me Dr. Mom a lot of
Okay.
times,
Well-
but the worst thing is Dr. Google because you can diagnose yourself with 8,000
Well,
different things off of Dr. Google.
Well, I have to agree with that. The internet's great for some things, but a lot of things really need somebody to be looking at it, doing the proper testing on it, because it doesn't matter what's on WebMD. It may not even be anything to do with what you have or what you're encountering.
Yes.
Maybe something totally separate, but very, very good. So, clinic hours, Monday through Friday.
8 to 6,
Saturday,
9 to 2.
9 to 2. Do you need an appointment?
Nope.
Nope. You're more
Absolutely
than welcome
not.
to come by.
For acute visits. So there is a difference.
Sure.
If you walk in and say, I'm a diabetic and I need to, that's a very long visit. So
Right.
acute visits are typically,
Sure.
coughs, colds, bites, minor cuts, abrasions. So if it's a chronic care issue, yes, absolutely call and make an appointment. That way
Sure.
we're prepared for the visit. And if you've never been there, sometimes it takes us a little while to get the records. We
Sure.
want to make sure we're doing our due diligence and getting your previous records from your prior providers. And so we can treat you to the best of our ability.
Sports physicals.
$10 all year long.
All the time.
Yes,
all the time.
all the
But
time.
You should make an appointment, and remember, the youngster coming in still needs to have a parent with them, correct, or a guardian,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. Anyone under the age of 17, we have to have a parent or guardian. If you're not the actual guardian, the law requires that we have written consent from a parent stating that a grandparent or step parent can come in with that child.
And Misha has a 2-year turnaround on sports physicals now, correct?
They do, as long as you don't have any outstanding problems.
Sure.
If you have a torn muscle in
Well,
your
if you're-
leg
you're
and
right,
you're
right.
doing track, then they probably are going to want to redo your physical every year.
Yeah, I was going to say, unless you have some ongoing symptom of a previous injury or something you've diagnosed prior.
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
If you have any sort of chronic condition, sometimes like asthma, if you have asthma, they want you to see a provider every year to make sure that you're
Absolutely.
still going to be okay to practice. But yes, Misha changed their rules to go to 2 years, and that was really, really convenient. As a parent, I like it being every 2 years.
But if your son or daughter had suffered an injury in the previous year, don't think that you still don't need to go get a physical. Just
Correct.
because it says 2 years, maybe Misha doesn't know that they got hurt. You know they got hurt. Have them go get a physical. You do not want somebody to get out there and go through a lot of hard practices and have maybe some kind of slight tear or maybe a muscle strain, and then all of a sudden it gets the regular season and they're ready to go and they're all hyped up and you're all hyped up and they go out there in the first play, bang.
Yeah.
And it can happen. It can happen anyway, but if they're already nursing an injury, it can happen a lot more. And when you take a physical, you definitely want to tell that youngster to be honest with the physician. Tell them everything. Do not hold anything back, because kids, sometimes, what's wrong? I don't know. Where's it hurt? Somewhere down here in the back of my leg. Try and be as specific as you can. It's only for the benefit of the child
Yes.
that they want to do this. Because, years ago, I actually know I did the same thing. We played at St. Louis University. We had to go get a physical. We had to go down at that time, Furman Deloge, and get the physical. And we weighed in there, and then the urine samples. And they didn't come back as quick. Chest X-ray. We had the whole thing. You're going to play Division I college hockey. They're going to test you out.
Yes.
You would not believe how long you're down there, because if they find anything, come with me. Even if the rhythm of your heart would change, even because you're anxious, because you're down there with doctors, they put you aside and double check you. triple check you if they didn't get the results that they thought they should be getting. And that's the same thing that happens here. If you don't come forward and tell them, I've got this injury, or I hurt my ankle, or I twisted my arm, or I start to throw my right arm, I can only throw 4 or 5 times. Doctors need to know all this so they can diagnose what the problem is. They can't address it if they don't know it.
Yes, absolutely true. Honesty is very, very important when you're seeing your provider. That way we know how to treat you. My mother one time was asked why she has stayed so healthy her whole life. And part of that is the diet that, our diets have changed so drastically in the last 20 years.
How would you know? You're only 27.
I'm only 27, I know. And
you got gummy bears. I forget. Gummy worms, I guess.
so her answer to that question was, if I ever had an issue, I always had it taken care of immediately. I went to the doctor and I asked the questions, and I did the thing I needed to do to keep myself healthy all these years. If you let something go, it can get so much worse with sometimes even a short amount of time.
Yeah, sure.
So don't wait. Come in. Let us see you. We'll talk about it. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, it's nothing. But it's so much better to get it taken care of and actually ask the questions and figure out what's going on, because when you catch something early, your chances of recovery are so much greater.
And don't you want to know that it's nothing?
Absolutely.
I do.
I would.
I do. And you're exactly right. Years ago, I had a real good friend. My brother was studying to be a chiropractor. He got killed in a car accident. And one of his mentors, who was a chiropractor and a doctor, he was both. He opened his own practice, and he kind of adopted me because he knew my brother. He actually was one of his instructors. And I'd go out and talk to him, and he was a real fun guy. But he was a very intelligent man. He had his own x-ray equipment and different things. And he would treat you the way he saw best, either as a medical doctor or as a chiropractor. Sometimes it was one way, and sometimes it was the other. And like you're saying, if I got hurt, I got my jaw cracked. Somebody fell on my head when I was playing ice hockey, and my jaw cracked. And I didn't, you feel this burning sensation, but, you're hot, you're playing, you're sweating. You don't really know, so until you try to take a bite of that sandwich. Whoa!
Yes.
You find out in a big hurry that something's not right. He was the first call I made. Went down there, he took an x-ray. He saw my jaw. He goes, okay. He says, well, we have a nice crack. And he showed it to me. He goes,
wow.
There it is right there. And it was just, not all the way through, but it's substantial. That he goes, well, you have 2 options. He goes, we can let it heal on its own. He said, but you may come across some other issues that could occur later on. Or if you go to the hospital, many times what they'll do to just get it set right, they're going to break it. The choice is yours. Which would you like to do? And he's talking to me like, this is what's going to happen. If we let it go, there's going to be some restrictions. You're not going to be able to do some things, and you won't be able to chew for 5 weeks. You have to start thinking about your diet. What am I going to eat for 5 weeks?
Shakes. Lots
of
shakes.
shakes and mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But you know what? Those blenders come in handy. You can learn how to blend a pizza and a steak, too. And I'm telling you
gosh.
what, it may not look good, but it sure does taste good when you can't eat anything. But what I'm saying is, his diagnosis got me healing right away. He left the option to me, number 1. Number 2, so we can do it either way. He said, now, if you get that, you might end up problems with your joints up in your jaw. I'm just going to let you know. It could happen. He goes, I'm not going to say it will, but it could. If you break it, they'll take that pressure off there. Because right now, with that crack, no chewing, no yawning, no deep kissing. I mean, it was, you just basically sucked everything down through a straw as much as you possibly can.
Wow. It was the deep kissing that was the problem for you, right?
It really was. Sneezing was my big problem. No, because I worked in a kitchen. You got flour everywhere. And so he said, no sneezing. I said, how do you stop that? I'm allergic to flour, and I'm working in a kitchen,
Oh, my gosh.
He goes, whatever you got to do. He goes, if you got to walk outside, if you have to make yourself think you can't sneeze, he goes, whatever he did. And I didn't sneeze the whole time. And then when he cleared me, he goes, look, he showed me on the x-ray. He showed me the new healing part. It was really interesting to see the medical side that most people don't get a chance to see, that he was able to share with me. But what I'm saying is, I had a cracked jaw. You just go by what somebody says. Say, just go to the hospital and let them just go take care of it. You can and you should if you have nobody else. But if you have another option, definitely ask another. We got 7 people up at that clinic that can take a look.
Yes.
And I guarantee you, if you say something to one of them, say, I had this nurse practitioner, this doctor look at that. Would you check it out too? They will.
Yes.
And just to see if there is something to what you're saying is there. Because a lot of times they make their initial diagnosis and then they get in later on, and we all know this, when swelling goes down, things look a lot different.
Yes.
And then that diagnosis may not be 100% correct. It may be 95% correct, but a little bit off. And so what you're feeling, you tell the nurse practitioner or the doctor, and they can go back and talk to the original doctor or nurse practitioner who made the diagnosis, and you can say, oh, yeah, well, that's probably because of the swelling. When you do injure yourself, things tend to swell pretty quick.
Definitely. And I have had an injury, a sporting injury to my jaw also. Mine just got dislocated. And again, the provider that I went to see gave me the option of how I wanted to heal. And that's exactly what they should do. You should have say in your own health care and the course of treatment that you're receiving. And I know we recently had a case where a patient chose to not get care. We were talking about this a little bit as well. And that's your choice. If you have something going on, we're going to give you the options and the best case scenario and all the information that you're going to need to make that decision. And ultimately it's your choice if you choose to continue with your own care or to not, because sometimes living your life and having quality of life is more important to people than the options of treatment for some things. So it's definitely your choice to do what you want with your own body.
It sure is. And don't forget to ask questions. If your physician's telling you, your nurse practitioner's telling you something, or even your nurse, if you're in there and you don't understand, ask questions. Don't wait till you're done and going out the door and say, my gosh, then they may take you back in and get those questions answered. But while you go in there, try and write, as I said, try and write as much down. And when they're telling you something, this is going on or this is going on, or why, how does blood pressure affect my heart and things of that nature, or even my kidneys, how does it affect it? Why would these things be affected? If you're not sure, ask. They will explain it to you. That's what they do really well.
That's what doctors do, is educate people on how to have the best health possible. And they all love that portion of it. I've never met a doctor or nurse practitioner that didn't enjoy explaining health and how to manage your own health. That's literally what their job is, to teach people about their own health.
And it's a challenge to them. They want to make sure you get healthy.
Yes.
They don't want a patient not being healthy.
Yes.
And I can tell you, and it seems to always brighten them up when they come in and see a patient getting better. And if you're in the hospital, and like I said, speaking from my own COVID-19 case, watching Dr. Al come in, nurse practitioner come in, the nurses coming in, everything that was getting better, every blood test that they took that got better,
Yes.
I said, we're getting better.
Yes.
We're not there. You got to keep working at it. It's not just what they're in there and they're doing the test and they're monitoring where I am. It's that you still have to keep drinking water. You still have to nourish your body. You still have to do these things. You do. And then when you get out of here, you still need to be doing these things. It's not just up to us, and that's the neatest thing about out there. Love Dr. Al coming in. Hey, Chief, how you doing? You start talking, and it's fun. And I know a lot of the people out there, so it makes it fun to go in and talk to Shelley, or you go in and talk to Sam or any of them. It's like old home week, you get there, you start not only talking about medical things, but you get to talk a little bit about personal things. And some of those times, sometimes you find out that some of that's actually maybe part of your problem. You get into a groove, you do the same thing all the time out of routine and habit, that they're saying, well, have you ever tried changing that?
Yes.
Changing what? Well, we were just talking about this. You always do this every day. You always have 5 cups of coffee a day. Would you ever try cutting it back to 2 to see if that makes you maybe a little less irritable.
Now listen, at 27, I don't think I'm capable of cutting back the caffeine. I think I need,
Wow.
I think I need the more caffeine.
There you go. Yeah, especially with all those kids.
Hey, I know. 8 is enough. So
Yeah. Yeah, but it's true. I mean, there's different things you do in your lifestyle that are habit that you just in normal conversation with your physician may come out that you don't think is an issue. But maybe it really is a little bit of one that maybe your blood pressure's up a little bit because you do drink maybe a little too much coffee or you're too anxious. A lot of us again, we go back to that self-diagnosis.
Yes.
You go on WebMD, they're not looking at your body. They're not doing the test. They're not getting
Correct.
anything. They're telling you this is a possible symptom. And if you go look at 75 different tropical diseases, you're going to find the same symptom.
Yes, absolutely.
And when you go tell a doctor, I think I've got this disease and this disease and this disease, that's only in the Philippines. Well, I've got it. I don't know how it got here.
Sure,
Probably
sure.
on the wind.
Yes. Yes.
But it's true, right?
Yes.
And I'm sure you've seen it.
Absolutely. And you can't rely on the internet to diagnose something. I've seen people come in and say they think they have this, and really it was something different, but they needed some serious care to
Right.
treat the symptoms or to treat the disease that they have. And you said something a minute ago about us kind of all being a family and celebrating gains together. I can't tell you how many times I've had, 5 or 6 people walk over and go, "Hey, how was so-and-so's labs?" Because we want to see everyone get better. And that lab value determines the progress that patient is having. And so we celebrate those gains even more so sometimes than what the patient does, because we realize what the values of those labs mean, or what the information in those studies that we're receiving, the impressions that we get back from your radiology. We look at it first and get excited or sometimes get sad to try
hopefully.
explain things, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's the neatest thing about Salem Hospital that I've always said. It is a family. It's so oriented toward family
Yes.
that you can't help but feel. I don't know. I can't help but feel comfortable every time I'm there,
Yeah.
because if I don't know the first person that walks by me, probably the second or third person I've seen before, or they know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
May not know everybody that you come in contact with. Maybe you've seen them at church. Maybe you've seen them at a sporting event. Maybe you floated and they happen to see you down there. Maybe you've done something else. There's just so many. It's a small town, so usually you come across people all the time. Now, you may not know every single person, but they recognize you. They've seen you before, so you don't feel out of place. You don't feel like a stranger. I mean, lost in a lost world. I remember that reading about that a long time ago in a song. Guy's lost in a lost world because he's lost, and he goes into this world and absolutely nobody pays attention to him. So now not only is he's lost, but he's in a lost world. There's nobody communicating. There's nobody caring. What do you do? I mean, how do you move forward? There's a lot of good stuff. So when you feel comfortable, how does that help in your healing, Chrissy? You feel comfortable around these people. You're good to go. They come in, they see you, they chat with you, they talk with you. It's nice.
The mental healing process and having someone support you mentally is very, very important in physical healing. Our county has some of the most amazing resources for people. Not only do we have, mental care, the physical care, we have so many different community programs, the food banks, and you just have to ask the questions. Whatever it is that you need, I guarantee you somebody in our county has a resource to be able to help you out. And we know at the SMDH Family Medicine Clinic, we know those resources, and we're able to connect you to the people that will help you with your mental care if you need food, if you need, some family support, if you need help cleaning your home, if you're having mobility issues, and now all of a sudden, you don't really want to talk about it, but you're having a hard time getting up your steps or, around your home. That is what happens, unfortunately, as we age. Not that I know about mobility issues at 27,
27.
but you just ask the questions, and we'll be more than happy to help you get the resources that you need for your physical and mental health.
But the key is ask the question.
Yes.
Very good. One last thing, and we're going to wrap it up. And I know you got to get back to work because you've been celebrating your birthday with us for an hour, so it's good stuff. At the last board meeting, and of course it's been talked about before, but Wayne actually brought out in our conversation, Wayne Reed, the CEO, about the clinic starting in Bunker, that they're getting a little bit closer to that. How's that buzz over at the SMH clinic? When thinking about, you have a couple of nurse practitioner and a doctor that actually came from the Bunker area, so that has to kind of feel like an old home addition, doesn't it?
It does. And honestly, it is a community outreach program. Ancillary clinics it will be a rural health clinic. So there's, guidelines that we're required to abide by. But as of right now, we're kind of on the thought of build it and they will come. We're in the building phases, trying to figure out where we can place. Clearly, it has to go through board approval before anything is really determined. But as it sits right now, the community of Bunker has pooled their resources together and are actively remodeling a small home within the city limits of Bunker. And once it's renovated, the hospital will lease that facility. Of course, after it goes through the proper channels.
Inspections, everything else.
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot that goes into it. So it could be quite some time before it happens, but the ideas are there. The excitement is there. The community of Bunker has just come together and are very excited about potentially having it there. I think it is going to be an amazing addition to Bunker. Bunker's growing, and I feel like they need health care down there. The conversations that I have regarding the clinic daily are a little bit different because it is an outer lying clinic, and my question ultimately to the providers were, what do we need there for you to feel comfortable practicing 30 miles outside of where we have a hospital? We have to have certain equipment there. You're going to see farm injuries, you're going to see work injuries, you're going to see people that don't feel like they can make it into the Salem hospital that might be having a heart attack. You probably are going to want to have some suture kits because it's a different type of medicine than what we typically practice at the hospital and at the clinic,
right? Because
we're located right next to an ER. So, what happens if we get a patient that, is having a STEMI or, so those are the conversations that I am having currently. Let's prepare this place so that we can care for everyone in that area as best as we can, and also create the avenues to be able to quickly ship people that do have very serious problems. Now, they have a helipad there that's not too far from the location, and so those are the conversations I'm having right now to make sure that we're properly caring for people. But from the standpoint of being able to care for sick children, you don't have to drive 30 miles anymore. It'll be right there in your community. If you do have a work injury, or you do have, you're just sick, you have the flu, or, you don't want to bring your elderly mother all the way in because it's hard for her to travel. It's just going to be so much more convenient for the community. And we are at the clinic, we are so very excited about the possibility of having it, and everybody is really coming out to support it. So
I think it's a great addition.
Yes. So look for some financial opportunities to be able to invest in not only updating the facility there, but also getting the place up and running. I know that we have several different fundraising things coming up in Bunker that sound like a whole lot of fun. And as soon as we know more about that, we'll let you know so you can put it out to the community.
It's going to take a little while, so people,
Yes.
it's not going to happen, by April 15th. Give us some time. It takes a lot of time, a lot of inspections, a lot of stuff has to go through state and federal. I mean, there's a lot of different things.
Building requirements.
Oh,
and,
yeah. And make sure it's all handicapped accessible.
Correct.
Everything has to be done. And people forget about handicapped accessibility. Wider doorways, wider hallways. You have to have certain things there, different kinds of sinks, so handicap accessible wheelchair can go underneath, so that the person can wash their hands. A lot of different things that people every day don't even think about, and there's all that has to be done. So I really look forward to this, and I know I could sit probably here and talk to you another 25 minutes, but I know you need to get going. It's almost 10 o'clock, as a matter of fact, and we've been here just about an hour, so I think it's time. I'll let you go celebrate your birthday.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you
No
for the
problem.
gifts on my birthday. You did not have to do that.
But Chrissy, if anybody has any questions about the clinic or maybe something else that they heard here today that they'd like to question you on, what's your number over there?
It is 573-729-8000.
Any extension particular to you, or just ask for the birthday girl?
That's You're welcome to call and wish me happy birthday. I have a couple meetings today, though, so you might not get me on the phone.
Well, you can leave a message, though. But 729-8000, ask for Chrissy, and you can find out more about something you heard or we talked about today. And if you do need to make an appointment, same number, 729-8000. If you just want to bring in somebody, you're not in a super big hurry to try and get something done, walk-ins are always welcome.
Yes.
If somebody has a couple appointments, it may take a little longer, but just be a little bit patient.
Yes.
I'll get to you.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me. And because it is my birthday, I do have to say thanks, Mom and Dad.
Well, very good. And we want to thank all the staff out there, whoever let us know this, for letting us know that it is
So it was my
Chrissy's
staff. Thanks.
I don't. I'm thinking it had to be. I don't know where it came from. I just been sitting here, just kind of doing my thing, this morning.
Sure, you didn't answer the phone. So
I
you
did not
don't
answer
know.
the phone. It was not me. It was not me. I guarantee that. Chrissy, as always, thank you for coming in. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Steve.
Here at KSMO, stick around. Civic Happy.